The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters radio program was originally broadcast on April 5th, 2022.
Aloha and welcome, Maui, to the Business Matters radio show, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. I'm your host, Pamela Tumpop, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce. Today, we're going to speak with the Chief of Staff of Mokulele Airlines, who's also our sponsor of the show, about current operations and the larger aircraft that will be arriving in May, and hear about how two pilots rescued a private aircraft that crashed in Hana. We're going to speak with the executive director of the Maui Hotel and Lodging Association and get an update on the visitor industry, hear about how the hotels are working to be more environmentally conscious. They've always been a great leader in that area, and return to events and what's happening there. And we're going to hear from one of our chamber members, the Avocado Group, a digital marketing agency. But first, I'd like to welcome Keith Sisson, Chief of Staff of Mokulele Airlines. Keith has been with Mokulele Airlines for quite some time. He is the co-founder of Southern Airways in 2013. He was part of the team that led the acquisition effort of Mokulele in 2019. And Keith oversaw the renovation and modernization efforts of the Kahului Commuter Terminal, which is now the busiest commuter terminal in the United States. Mokulele offers over 120 daily flights in Hawaii, and since has become the only airlines for the islands of Molokai and Lanai, and has made a commitment to never having a sold-out day. Keith lives in Kona with his 3-year-old son Jack and wife, Ashley Sisson, who is also a local artist there. Good morning, Keith, and mahalo for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Aloha and good morning.
Aloha. So let's talk about all of the great operations going on at Mokulele. Have you been seeing any increases in daily flights and traffic picking back up?
We have increased the number of daily flights. With the April schedule, we increased to 145 daily departures in Hawaii. So, yes, we've absolutely seen an increase, and a lot locally, but also a lot of visitors coming as well.
And how's the summer looking for you?
Well, we've looked at those booking curves, and they look good. Summer should be a very good time for not just Mokulele, but for all of the airlines that not just serve Inter-Island, but bring people to Hawaii.
That is great to hear. You know, we said last year what a difference March makes, and we were starting to see that again this year as well. But 145 daily flights is phenomenal. I know you've also got other really great, exciting news to talk about with the new larger aircraft. Tell us a little bit about that. We've seen some. We've seen some pictures.
Yes. Yeah, this is something that we've been working on for quite some time, and we're very excited about where this is right now. Currently, the first aircraft, it's the Saab 340A. It's a 30-seat aircraft, twin turboprop. Very popular aircraft, actually, and it left the paint shop about 3 weeks ago, and it is in DuBois, Pennsylvania, at our maintenance facility there, currently undergoing its conformity process. And then following that, we'll do some FAA proving runs, and if those go well, then it will make its trip across the ocean in May. And we will be able to begin our scheduled service with those aircraft. The plan for that aircraft is to do scheduled service operations from Honolulu to each Molokai and Lanai. And we think this is going to be very good because, Molokai and Lanai are perfect islands to be served by the 9-seat operation. But there are about 2 really big peak periods where there's a lot of travel that goes between Molokai and Honolulu and between Lanai and Honolulu. So during that peak travel, just 2 days a week, we really do need the larger aircraft to help with that. It seems like on a Monday morning, everybody wants to leave Molokai to go to Honolulu, and also on a Monday morning, everybody wants to leave Honolulu and go to Lanai. So we have a lot of people that live on Molokai and work in Honolulu for the week. So this is going to help get everybody over there earlier in the day at the same time on a Monday. And we have a lot of people who live on Oahu, and they are contractors, and they work and they spend their week working in Lanai. So we do think the Saab 340 is going to be a very welcome change. And one of the things that we're very excited about, we know that so many of the high school sports teams do travel off island for competition, and it's oftentimes difficult to move all of those people on 9-seat aircraft. So we think this is going to be the perfect airplane for moving high school football teams and basketball teams and softball teams, baseball teams. So we're excited about being able to offer that to the community.
It really is. I mean, it just looks like a phenomenal plane. We've been watching some of the pictures on the news, and it's gorgeous. When you talk about conformity process, tell us a little bit about what's involved in that process before you do the FAA testing flights.
Sure. So anytime a new airplane goes to an airline, the airline has to validate everything in that airplane's history. So the longer that an airplane has been working in commercial service, the easier that process sometimes is, because the records are so good for commercial airlines. But we literally, in the conformity process, have to look at the logbook and look at the serial number on the starter generator. And then we have to send a mechanic to go look at the starter generator and look at the serial number and make sure they match up.
Wow.
And we do that for every single part on the airplane. It's to make sure that everything in the logbook is equal to everything that it's supposed to be, and we can verify that, because so many items on the aircraft are not limited by when do they expire, but they're limited on calendar dates. So sometimes things on the airplane just have to be replaced because Tuesday rolled around.
There you go.
Not because there's anything wrong with them. So we have to go through that process, and it takes a lot of time because they have to go through everything on the aircraft. And so we're in that process now. Our mechanics that are working that process in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, actually used to service this type of aircraft in Pennsylvania, so they're very familiar with it, and I think that's really going to help speed up the process.
Wow, what an amazing process.
Oh, yeah.
But so important, so important with I would imagine cars as well, but, certainly aircraft, but fascinating to know and understand. I also have another question, because you mentioned, again, the morning traffic of people flying from Molokai and Lanai to go to Honolulu. What about Fridays? Do you still see a increase in traffic on Friday afternoons when people are trying to fly back home?
Not as much as Monday, because a lot of people do return on Thursdays.
Oh, okay.
Thursdays and Fridays are busy, but not as busy as Monday morning, because really nobody wants to travel on a Sunday.
Yes.
So we see a lot of that Monday morning travel, but then again a lot on Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon.
Okay.
And throughout the day on Friday, actually.
Awesome. Yeah, when we used to fly over from Maui to Honolulu, you'd see a lot of the construction folks going over, and then Friday afternoons, boy, it was hard to get flights back home. So
that's right. And we still have our motto that we try to live by: never a sold out day. So as those flights fill up, we try to add more flights, and we're not always successful. There were a couple of days last month where we did have a couple of sellout days from Kahului to Molokai or Honolulu to Lanai, but not many. I mean, most every day there were seats available for purchase, and we ran a lot of extra flights to make that happen.
Yeah, you folks are amazing. You really have a really great process for dynamic scheduling.
Yeah, we're a little limited on that right now in Lanai. They're currently doing a runway renovation project on Lanai, and they close the runway every evening at 8 p.m., and they reopen it at 5 a.m. the next day while they're doing this runway reconstruction, and that's going to take about 4 or 5 more months. So that does limit us a little bit with our ability to run later flights into Lanai, but we're able to make it work.
Well, that's awesome. And, of course, there's some things that are outside of your control.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
That kind of repair and maintenance.
That was not on me.
Yeah, exactly. So, you guys have always been doing exemplary service. And we've talked about a lot of stories, how you've helped people who needed a companion to go, with them to as they get medical attention, and found, provided those seats. But recently you've had an experience where 2 of your pilots helped rescue a private aircraft. Can you tell us that story and tell us a little bit about those amazing heroes?
Yeah, absolutely, and so proud to do so. So yesterday in Honolulu, the FAA and the state of Hawaii joined Mokulele Airlines at Terminal 3 in Honolulu to honor the two pilots that were on this flight. And what was really unique about this is that we all joined together almost exactly 1 year ago to do the same thing with another incident where Mokulele pilots did help rescue and save the life of other private pilots that were flying on private aircraft.
Wow.
This particular event that we honored Captain Eric Mimmet and now Captain Nathan McBride. This incident took place in January in Hana. So the pilots were landing their aircraft, the Mokulele aircraft, at the Hana airport from Kahului with passengers. And after deboarding the passengers, they looked back at the runway and they saw a small private aircraft taking off, climbing to about 200 to 250 feet. And at that point in time, it was losing its altitude, and it turned sideways, and they saw it going down. It went out of their line of sight, but they heard the crash. And at this point in time, our pilots went to the pilots at Skydive Hana and told them what had happened, and actually dispatched the Skydive Hana pilots to get in the air and radio down aerial surveillance of the site. Our guys jumped in the Mokulele plane. They taxied as far as they could get, as close as they could get to the crash site, grabbed their first aid kit and fire extinguisher, and then marshaled their way through the briars and the thorns and the shrubs, the forest of Hana, fighting their way to get to the crash site. By the time they got there, the passenger of the plane was outside the aircraft, but he was really disoriented. But the pilot was pinned inside the aircraft.
Wow.
When they got there was gas leaking all over the aircraft and the ground. So immediately our guys started to look for the circuit breaker panel for the aircraft, the master power, and turned the master power off in an effort to prevent an electrical fire. And then they tried to get the pilot out, but they couldn't do it on their own. So they kept the pilot calm. They kept him talking while they waited for the first responders to arrive, which happened very quickly. And when the first responders got there, the first responders and our guys determined the best way to get the pilot out of the aircraft was to actually put 4 or 5 people on each side of the wing and everybody lift. And
Wow.
when they lifted the airplane up, it was able to free the pilot enough from the front seat to dislodge himself from the aircraft. Both the private pilot and his passenger were airlifted to a hospital there in Maui, and then they survived. Everything worked out great, a happy ending. So many times these stories do not have happy endings, and this is one of those that did. And one of the things that I think is remarkable about this is not only did our guys, lead this rescue effort, because they saw it and they were able to react quickly. They absolutely saved the life of this pilot and maybe the passenger. But when it was all over, they went back to the terminal, loaded up their passengers, and flew to Kahului in time for all of their passengers to make their connection. So,
wow.
it's go be a hero, but when that time is done, go back to work. And that's what they did, and we honored those pilots yesterday. One of them, Captain Eric Mimmet, was part of the Southern Airways SkyWest cadet program, and he had completed his contract with Mokulele Airlines about a month ago, and he's currently with SkyWest Airlines, which we're very proud of. It's a program that we worked with SkyWest to create. So when he completed his contract here, he went to SkyWest. He's actually in Dallas now, getting training on a regional jet, and he was able to join the ceremony by video yesterday. So we're very happy about that. So many times these stories do not turn out well. This one actually did, and it actually got us talking after the event yesterday about how unique it is that we've at Mokulele we've had pilots that have done this kind of thing twice in the last 380 days almost. But after talking about the anomaly of that, we started talking about why it's possible. we're in the air 145 times a day now.
Wow.
So, I hate to say we're the sky police, but we're kind of always in the sky. So when things like this happen, we're probably going to be the first people that can respond to it, just because we're always up there. And that's a good feeling. It's also a big responsibility, and our guys seem to really respond to it.
Well, again, that's culture and training and a lot of things coming together to make that happen. But you're right. I mean, what a unique perspective to say, okay, we're the ones who are probably going to see it first, and so taking that in and sharing that with the team and looking at how well you already are responding to amazing things. What a phenomenal role, and clearly we're deeply appreciative to have you there and be able to do that.
We've got such great people. We really, really do.
And you mentioned, and I've always heard you say, we've talked about this before, that one of the great things about Mokulele Airlines is that you have these pilot programs, and it's a place where people can come, can be, great pilots with Mokulele, but you have movement for them to move up. So is that SkyWest Airlines part of that training movement program that we've kind of talked about?
It's the primary part of that training program. We developed this program with SkyWest Airlines a few years ago, and because of this, it seems like every airline in the country is struggling to find pilots. We're not. We create pilots, and here's a fun fact for you. By June of this year, we will have 30 extra captains, 30 more captains than we have right now,
wow,
without hiring one extra person.
Wow.
That's because this program works so well, and we're going to be, once those captains complete their contract, they go on to SkyWest. They get their training in a regional jet. They do about 1 year with SkyWest. At that point in time, they can stay with SkyWest, or they're free to go anywhere they want. And there's so many great opportunities out there for pilots right now. But I'm going to tell you this: there are great opportunities out there for mechanics as well. There's a huge shortage of aviation mechanics right now, and I think the state of Hawaii is going to see a lot of people moving from the mainland to start taking those jobs, because there's just not enough mechanics right now to take those jobs in Hawaii.
Well, that's a really good point. And, we keep talking about workforce development, so I think we need to raise that one up as one of those areas. We're always going to have airplanes flying to the islands, so one of those areas where we could maybe look at expanding some of our mechanical training programs to include
absolutely.
that.
And one of the things that we're working on, and we're very proud of this, we really need, it's called line maintenance, and that's where you have a mechanic who is live at the airport, sitting by, waiting to change a tire, change a light bulb, whatever is necessary to get a plane that is flying the line to continue to fly the line. And we have line maintenance at Kona and Kahului and Honolulu. We really need line maintenance at Molokai, because we have so many flights in there, and if we get a flat tire in Molokai, sometimes it can be a 3-hour wait before we get a mechanic from Honolulu or Kahului over to Molokai to fix that. And it's hard to hire a mechanic and send them to Molokai because they're not embedded in the culture. We actually went to the Molokai High School this year and said, hey, identify for us a couple of your graduating seniors that want a really good opportunity, that have family that live in Kona, and send them to me. We're going to give them a job as an apprentice. We're going to make them work for 30 months as an apprentice in Kona. By the time you finish 30-month apprenticeship, you actually have your airframe certificate to be a mechanic. And at that point in time, they will be a mechanic for Mokulele Airlines, not just an apprentice. And then we're going to send them back to Molokai so that we can have that kind of line maintenance to really steady the operation there. And the response from the Molokai High School has just been outstanding. They have really identified some great people for us, and we're getting a lot of enthusiasm from not just the kids but their families. And these are very, very good jobs. Even the apprentice job is a good job. But when you become a mechanic after the apprenticeship, it's a really good job.
Absolutely. I have to say a big shout out to Molokai High School. Years ago, I was working for Maui Economic Development Board, and we were doing educational grants trying to bring in new technology. And the Molokai system was awesome. They were just always eager and ready to embrace new things. I'd love, Keith, for you to send me what's included in some of that. And I was listening to you talk about line maintenance, and I thought kind of like a race car pit crew. They're out there fixing things on quickly getting everything ready to get it back out, which is pretty amazing. But can you send us some information on what that looks like and what kind of expertise is involved in those positions?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
How are you doing on CDL drivers? We talked about that a while back. Have you found all you needed in CDL drivers?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually doing really good with that right now. To operate a fuel truck at one of the Hawaii airports, you actually have to have a CDL license. And it's interesting because oftentimes the fuel truck doesn't go more than 10 or 15 yards every time you drive it. It goes from a parking place to an airplane and then back to a parking place. But you do have to have a CDL, and we are now fully staffed with that. We're running our own fuel operation at Kahului, and we have just purchased a brand new fuel truck for Honolulu that will be arriving later in the month, and we'll be operating our own fuel operation at Honolulu as well. So we're excited about bringing both of those operations in-house and adding to the number of employees that we have so we can have that type of operation.
That's phenomenal. Well, Keith, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's always great to have you on the show, and we are just always excited to hear what's happening at Mokulele Airlines because you always have great news to share.
One extra thing. I know
yes.
in the introduction you talked about the Kahului airport renovation.
Yes.
We signed the contract last week with the builders and the contractors. We are renovating the Molokai terminal. I'm hoping to be able to unveil that with a ribbon cutting as early as late May, early June this year. But that Molokai airport terminal is going to look just as good as the Kahului one.
Oh, we love that. I can't wait. Well, keep me posted on that. We'd love to see that. And late May, early June, that's coming up quick.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Oh, thank you so much, Keith. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. And we'll be right back after a message from Mokulele Airlines. Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal. If you're just tuning in, this is Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And it's our pleasure to now welcome Lisa Paulsen, Executive Director of the Maui Hotel and Lodging Association. Prior to her role as tourism liaison for the County of Maui, Lisa served as Maui Hotel and Lodging Associations, known as MHLA, as their executive director for 7 years, leading the organization through a growth in membership, maintaining a strong legislative presence at the state and county, and raising $1.4 million in the 2018 Charity Walk. Lisa has worked with many of Maui's nonprofits and has lived on Maui for over 27 years with her family. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you, Pam?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. It's a gorgeous day.
It is.
We are so blessed to be in Maui.
Yes, we are so blessed.
I know sometimes we just have to take a moment to realize,
Yeah.
There's always so much going on in our worlds, but yet just those quick moments to be grateful.
Absolutely.
So I am so glad to have you on because, we last year saw what a difference March makes. We've been hearing the numbers are going up for the summer, so I'd love to get an update on what's happening in the visitor industry and how the hotels and resorts are now doing now that we've seen restrictions lifted.
Yeah. So positive notes there. The hotels are starting to see a rise in occupancy and, forward-looking bookings. I will say that group business is now finally making a greater trajectory in bookings now that Safe Travels has gone. It's group business is our bread and butter, and they're really good guests, and they tend to stay on the resort. and they just support our economy in wonderful ways. I will note, though, that, other island destinations are now opening up, too.
Right.
So we will continue, we will start to see a stronger competition from these other island destinations.
And that's been something that we've been sharing throughout the pandemic as we've been working towards, again, hearing a lot of concerns, working towards better tourism management, but knowing that we always compete with these many other destinations. Are there any leaders that you're seeing as they reopen now that, are stronger competition for us at this time?
Some of the destinations where the country government actually subsidizes tourism, like Mexico and in the Bahamas. They're always able to provide package deals that we're not able to touch. So they are our strongest competitors. But the Maldives has really come online, and we're starting to see some of our hotel flags popping up in the Maldives now. I believe our Outrigger just established a resort there. So yeah. So it's getting even more. More and more island destinations are being added, and so competition is strong.
Yeah. And we've known that it's going to be that way, and it's something that we're going to continue to see. And of course, as you mentioned, newer areas are popping up. So,
yes.
And within the hotel chains too, they're going to be looking at those opportunities as well.
Yes.
Another thing that we've been watching and we've been seeing both on a county level and state level is, constant movement towards being more sustainable, looking at new ways of doing things, reducing impacts on the environment. And one of the things that we've been watching is the looking at how to reduce the use of small toiletry plastic bottles. Can you share an update on this and how the hotels are addressing this issue?
Right. So in the state of California and New York, there's already laws banning these small amenity bottles. And our state legislature put forth a bill to also, replicate that law. But I will say a lot of our properties have already been using the larger in-room, permanent amenity bottles that are already in the shower or on the counter for you. In fact, I recently traveled and I noticed that for the most part, most hotels have already adopted those larger bottles that can just be refilled.
Yeah, and that is so great. I know that during COVID times we were hearing it was a little bit sketchy because, again, people were not wanting to share things that got touched a lot. So they sort of, they liked those smaller bottles. But again, during that period of time, but as we're now starting to reopen, are the hotels seeing more guest acceptance of these larger in-room amenity bottles?
Yeah, I think that we have, there's different age segments of our travelers. And one of the bigger segments, the 35 to 55, and they're really looking for properties that encourage sustainable efforts.
Yes.
I mean, even our younger traveler. And Maui, we boast a lot of things. We had the first LEED existing building in the state, which was the Hyatt, and the Andaz is also a LEED certified building. Water and electrical conservation are always top of mind, and we're really we're proud. We're going to be partnering with the Facilities and Engineering Leadership Committee in putting together a comprehensive list of efforts of the resorts in Maui County that we'll be able to share with everyone very soon.
I think that's really exciting because those behind the scenes know so many environmental efforts that are taking place within the hotels. But it's just been happening. I mean, they're just doing the right thing, and a lot of things are happening, but the public doesn't necessarily know all that's going on.
Right.
Even as you say, that many of the hotels, even before this legislation came out, were already moving in that area of changing out how they handled these amenity bottles, and they're constantly looking at ways to reduce waste and also purchase more locally. There's many different sides to the sustainability movement, and the hotels have been great leaders. It's just that we don't really know about all that. So I'm so excited to hear you're going to put something together and help educate us about what's actually happening.
Yes, and luckily I have this engineering group because they need to put it in layman terms. Sometimes they talk about, and I was like, wait, what does that mean?
Exactly. I don't know if you got to hear the prior interview, but we were talking with Keith Sisson of Mokulele Airlines, and he was talking about a conformity process, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But it's fascinating, checking every single part. I mean, every single serial number on every part to make sure that it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Very detailed, which those engineers deal in great details, much of which we don't really want to fully understand, but we but we want to get the gist of it, and we want to know how it's making an impact is what we care about.
Exactly.
But they are the best ones to help us bridge that gap, and so that's awesome. So exciting. And, you mentioned that the group business is, really our bread and butter. And that's something, too, I think that not a lot of people understand. And I know that when group business wasn't coming, a lot of also our major event companies were really struggling. I mean, just devastated.
Right.
When we saw that go down as well. And so helping people understand as well elements of the visitor industry business that, they might not be aware of or really thinking about. Sometimes we look at visitors as just visitors. We put them all in one group and don't really realize the nuances.
Yeah, that's a really good correlation to make, is that, our event companies, our florists, our rental, companies, those are the ones that engage heavily with our group business. So there is a large trickle down to our, island businesses when these groups are here.
Yeah. So in so many cases, we saw just devastation in a way that we hadn't really seen before, because in the Great Recession we were still open, so we were getting some, we just weren't getting it all. But this is a time where we really got that trickle down effect, and we saw the devastation, but maybe we didn't realize the nuances of it, and how, like you said, it really impacted even down to the florists.
Yeah.
So, but with this return, we're seeing announcements in Honolulu about big groups starting to come, and we're seeing concerts come back. Can you share some of the exciting events that you see coming up in the industry?
Right. So a big part of what Maui Hotel and Lodging Association does is we do a lot of community benefits. We in the past, we always had a lavish holiday meal for our kupuna, and to show our appreciation and love. And because of the pandemic, we had to pivot. And last December, we partnered with Meals on Wheels and providing 600-plus meals to be delivered with a goodie bag. So we're really excited. This Friday, we're partnering again with Meals on Wheels to provide an Easter brunch for delivery with an orchid plant. So we're so excited, and we see this possibly as the best way to honor our kupuna, especially those that are shut in and may not have family on island.
What an awesome thing. And then to pair the food with something special, something that reminds you of Easter and that we all cherish, a beautiful orchid plant. What a great concept. How did you guys put that together? And
so Ryan Nobriga, the general manager of Westin Kaanapali Ocean Resort Villas, was the one that spearheaded this back in October, November last year, and he's the chair again of this, and we're so grateful for the partnership with Maui County's Meals on Wheels. So our volunteers will be very busy Thursday and Friday putting everything together, and then we actually have volunteers that follow the Meals on Wheels cars with the orchid plants, and will hand deliver and get to visit with the kupuna. It's a very, very special event.
It really is, and so amazing, and I'm so glad you've always done. Maui Hotel and Lodging Association has always done a phenomenal job with this annual luncheon. But to do this at this time and to celebrate Easter and to connect with them and give them a little gift and let them know that they're being thought of is, just priceless, really.
Yeah.
Really priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also on Friday, we're going to be very busy this Friday. We're partnering for our youth. So at the other end of the spectrum, we're sponsoring the Climb High Lay event, which is Lay stands for Leadership, Exploration, and Inspiration, and that is for our Maui County high school students. And it is a day of networking. There's going to be a career fair with some speed dating, and then they get some back of house tours right there at the Sheraton. So we're really proud to be a sponsor and work with Climb High and growing that talent pipeline for our future generations.
Wow, that's really exciting. How many students are you expecting?
I believe we're at 200. I could be mistaken, but it's gonna be an exciting day, and I'm especially looking forward to the speed dating part at the career fair. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And then you said they're getting a tour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that when we did the not in 2021, but in 2020. We did the Made in Maui County Festival virtually for the first time. And we were able to do it at the Grand Wailea because the hotels were shut down at that time. And so the Grand Wailea generously allowed us to film there. And to get to our location, we walked through the hotel, past laundry, through all of the different kitchens and restaurant prep areas. And I mean, it was fascinating to go see the back end of a hotel. It's the first time I'd ever done it. And, of course, I did it at a time when nobody was walking around and, you didn't have everybody buzzing, so I wasn't going to be in everybody's way. But, I mean, it was just fascinating to see how the hotels are laid out to be so efficient and effective and all that takes place in these spaces. And I think it's thrilling that the kids are going to get that great opportunity.
Yeah, and we really do want to give opportunities to our students. We provide scholarships, which is we're going to be raising scholarships for our golf tournament coming up June 24th. And we just really want to support our high school and college students and provide them the education and then the opportunity to stay here on Maui.
Yes. Very important. We want, as parents, you and I are both parents. We want our children to have opportunities here at home, and we want them to get the education that they want to have. And if they go off to that education, we're so desperate to see more opportunities for them to come back. And, of course, that's going to take affordable housing and rentals. We need to work on that, too. But, the hotel industry and visitor industry has been offering so many diverse positions. And that was one of the key reasons that the industry was sought after to develop, is because of the diversity of the positions, a lot of engineering and technical positions, and higher paying wages.
Yes, IT is in high demand, as is revenue management and engineering. So we're working closely with Maui College to look at ways to provide even certificate courses.
Great.
After they get their associate's degree, they can get a certificate course and then move right into the field because it's so important. Those are key roles. And nobody really thinks about that when they think about the visitor industry. But, revenue management, engineering, and IT are huge.
Yep, those are the ones back in the office that you don't see on the front lines.
The ones you never see.
That's right. But the positions you definitely want to know about.
Yes.
Oh, well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. We've loved having you on the show and learning all about what's happening in our visitor industry, all of this exciting work that you're doing to share with people more about the industry and about how the industry is working to better protect the environment, as well as educating our youth about the many opportunities in the industry and how they can look forward to participating in those.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for welcoming me on the show anytime. I always have good stories to share, so thank you for including me today.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and we'll have you back again soon. We love good stories. We love positive, good stories.
Yes. Oh, well, may I end it on that we're announcing our charity walk is going to be August 20th?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so we'll have we'll have some exciting news to share in the next 3 weeks about the charity walk and who our chair is and celebrity chairs. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And where are people going to? I'm sure it'll be in the press release, but also they can look at your website.
Yes, absolutely. There will be a lot of social media and PR in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. All right. Well, everybody get ready. August 20th. And, of course, the golf tournament on June 24th. And big things happening at Maui Hotel and Lodging Association.
Thank you, Pam.
You bet, Lisa. Thank you. Aloha. For those who are just tuning in, this is Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And our next guest is a great chamber member, Christopher McGee, founder and owner of the Avocado Group. And the Avocado Group is an amazing company because you might wonder by the name, what exactly do they do? But they are a digital marketing and advertising agency. And so they are doing some phenomenal things. And the Avocado Group was founded in 2014. So, Christopher, tell us about how you got inspired to start this business.
Hi, Pamela. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, we're losing you just a little bit, Christopher.
To me. Can you hear me okay?
A little low, but it's getting better.
It's getting better. Let's see.
You were cutting in and out just a bit, but this is sounding a little louder and a little better.
How is this?
Oh, great. Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, okay, no worries. I founded the Avocado Group back in 2014. It was actually going by the name of McGee Ventures. Very original. It's my last name. At the time, I was working for a pharmaceutical distribution company in California. And after optimizing a bunch of their stuff, I realized that I could market our services as technology and efficiency consulting. And I started selling those packages to businesses, helping them optimize their systems, move away from paper, move away from inefficient systems. And with that, that turned into building websites and things like that. And I realized very quickly that I was the bearer of bad news. I was the bearer of a lot of change, and I had to step into a business and help them rearrange their things and organize things. And while that was lucrative or productive, it wasn't as much fun. And then I started moving into website building and the marketing side of things. Way back then, it was me and my brother, and realized I had a lot more fun in that. And now I was the bearer of good news. I was helping people rethink the way that they could brand themselves, the way that they could portray themselves and market themselves to their customers and bring in more customers. And so over time, we switched over towards the marketing side of things and website development. We still do some systems and help people tie in and become more efficient, but our primary focus is on helping businesses find and convert new customers via the internet.
That is always, well, I'm a big marketing person too, and that is the fun part, is helping them realize that you have to have a market to have a business, and so to really work that side of the business, which isn't how people are taught when they're first taught about business planning, but to help them do that and then do it well and figure out to really how to refine their audience and reach those people who are excited and interested in their products or services. And you folks are really doing amazing work in this area. You've been picking up a lot of different clients. Can you share some of the exciting projects that you've been doing?
We've been working with all kinds of interesting companies. Just prior to moving to Maui, we were traveling the country. We hit all 50 states, and we worked with all sorts of businesses, shapes, and sizes across the country. And since moving to Maui, our focus has been primarily on local business. We have some mainland company stragglers that still work with us, and then other companies that are mainland companies, but the owners are on Maui. But besides that, our primary focus is on local business here on Maui and across the island. So we have customers in Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and Big Island, with the most of them being on Maui. And it's ranged everywhere from rebuilding the website for the Maui Economic Development Board to a website for a guy that does nothing but repairs screen windows, and it's all kinds of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, because we've gotten to know each other a little bit, and I'm really fascinated by your team approach and the breadth of services you offer in terms of, starting with a website, but also you take it much further to really a whole marketing package.
Yeah, so we try to replace what would be an in-house marketing for a larger company. They might have a whole team of people, but when you're thinking small business, they can't just afford to hire on a team, let alone sometimes even just one person to pay attention to this. So we will replace that and take on one or all of the portions of your marketing. And I always, I say this to everybody, but people sometimes think about like, I need to get a web presence. Again, our marketing focuses primarily on the digital aspect of things. We do design that makes its way to print or signs, etc. But our primary focus is on the digital aspect, because some people believe, I'm going to just build a website, build it and they will come. But the truth of it is, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to go to yourrandombusinessname.com and just type that in there. They're finding you via Google, they're finding you via Instagram, Facebook, other social media platforms. And unless you go out there and reach out to them and convey your story in a compelling way, they won't find you. And so we found that if we leave that up to the business or up to them hiring multiple contractors, they'll get everything kind of without a lot of continuity, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people, they might hire a photographer to go take their photos, a videographer to go get their videos, and then a social media person to take those and post them, and then somebody else to build their website, and somebody else to do their SEO, and somebody else to do their email marketing. And now they have 6 different people that they need to keep in contact with and update and have them talk to each other. And what if they don't talk to each other and delays start happening? Versus working with us, we work hard to be the one-stop shop. I can attribute much of our success to my team, my incredible team, who helps coordinate all of this, and between both our employees, our staff that are on full-time, available 5 to sometimes it feels like 7 days a week, and then we also contract out a lot of work to some talented contractors, videographers and photographers and things like that when we don't have enough capacity ourselves. But those people are vetted by us and work as almost like an internal team member, where we're doing all the communication with them as opposed to leaving it up to the business owner.
Yeah, and reviewing the work they do and make sure it integrates with the other pieces and parts that you're handling. Yeah,
more often than not, we're harder to please than the clients. We'll get a video back, and they'll say, "Here's the first draft." Before it ever makes its way to the client, we're critiquing it. Here's what we need to change. The client sometimes would be like, "That's great," and I'll be like, "No, it's not. No, we're actually changing this, that, and the other before we're going to publish that anywhere."
Well, and that's true, and that's why why a small business wants to hire a firm like yours, because you have the expertise and you have the ability to ascertain between, hey, this is good, but this is what we can do to make it better. And the client doesn't have that necessarily that marketing experience. We sometimes see it in logo development, where people want to develop their own logo for their product, and sometimes, the artwork is not really up to par for the level of the client they're looking for. It doesn't have the right image for the client that they're looking for, and helping them understand, hey, we need to refine this a little bit. Let's bring in an artist and get some great expertise. And you mentioned the website part, which I'm always laughing about, because people say, well, it's just so easy to put up a website, and the price of entry is so much lower these days than it used to be, and just put it up. And it's like, without the right writing and the message, there is no website. I mean, anybody can throw up some pictures, but it's the content on the website. First you have to drive people to get them there, but then once you get them there, what is it you're selling, and how are you saying that, and how are you conveying your message?
Right. And what I find often humorous is, I'll sit down with prospective clients all the time, and the first question I ask them is, who is your market? What are you selling? What are you trying to sell? And things like that. And we'll just talk story. We'll have this conversation. I'll say, what really is the best? And they'll tell you as soon as you start talking to them. You ask them these questions. These type of clients, or this type of business, or these are the ones where I make the most money, right. And this is what I'd like to focus my time on, and this is where I'm having fun. And they'll start telling me, all of these aspects of essentially who their market is. And then we'll go over to their website, and they'll say, now tell me where on all of this jumble of, 2.5 Facebook pages, because, there's inevitably one that an intern started, 3 years ago that you lost the password to, and your website, and we're looking at all the various aspects. Where does it say what you just told me? And more often than not, it doesn't. There's nothing that translates from what they told me about what it is that they're looking for in a customer, and what their web presence conveys. And so then you have to sit down and write up that copy, tell that story. And in addition to just compelling copy, we're looking at the SEO factor of how we're going to get them ranked. How are they going to be, what key terms are they hoping to rank for? Yeah. And that's a factor as well.
We've got about 30 seconds. So Christopher, tell everybody where you're located and how they can find you.
We are located right across from Kama'ole Beach Park 2 on South Kihei Road. The best way to reach us, though, is via our website, which is theavocado.group. Not .com, not .net, .group.
The Avocado.
And avocado is AVO, not AVA. CADO.
Okay, you can reach the Avocado Group at theavocado.group. Christopher, thank you so much for joining us today on Business Matters. It's been great to have you on. We truly appreciate it, and we truly appreciate the amazing work you're doing. Everybody, it always goes quick with Business Matters, so that's all the time we have today for our program, but we want to thank our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines, and just want to wish each and everyone a beautiful Maui day. I'm Pamela Timpop, President of the Maui Chamber of Commerce. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Aloha.